And welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. All throughout the month of November, I'm aiming to bring you a brand new review each and every day. Now, it might be a written review over on thegaminggang.com, or it might be a video review hosted by yours truly, which is obviously the case this time out. So today I am going to share my thoughts about Cartographers from Thunderworks Games. This is designed by Jordi Adon with artwork provided by Luis Francisco and Lucas Ribeiro. And I apologize if I somehow mispronounced any of those names. Cartographers is for 1 to 100 players, and I would certainly not want to be the one whose turn it is to buy snacks if you've got 100 players. It is also for ages 10 and up, plays at around 30 to 45 minutes, and does carry an MSRP of $24.95. All that said, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Cartographers. Do want to mention, Jess over at Thunderworks Games was kind enough to provide me with this review copy. But neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this review with you. These days, it's very important you know that. I'm also not going to get into a deep dive about the strategies of cartographers because there is a bit of strategy, although you have to kind of come up with it on the fly. But I am going to give you a brief overview of how to play cartographers, as well as share my thoughts about it as well. So this does take place in the same game world as the Role Player line of games. And if you have not checked out my review of Role Player, please do. It's fairly recent, and we enjoyed the hell out of that game. So give that a peek. But it is the same game world. And in this situation here, the premise is that the queen is looking to reclaim the northern lands. So she brings on these cartographers, which are the players, and she has tasked them with mapping these northern lands. So we set up the game with a little deck of season cards. So we're going to put spring, summer, fall, winter together here. We have edict cards. So this is what the queen would like to find in the northern lands. We have 4 different decks here. We're going to separate these out, and then we're going to randomly select one card from each of those decks to place under the edict cards. So as we go about these seasons, when the season ends, we're going to look to try to score these edicts. So as you can see, spring is going to be A and B. Then we have summer, which is B and C. Fall is C and D. And then for winter, it is D and A. Easy enough. We also have exploration cards. So we are going to flip these over each round, and each of the players are going to have their map/scoring sheets. And there are 100 of these on the pad in the box. They are dual-sided, and you decide which of these you're going to use, this side or this side. Now, this side has a wasteland where nothing can be drawn. This is the standard sheet here. Each of the players will put their name, their title. They're also going to draw a little heraldry symbol if they want. And then we have a grid. So on this grid, we'll see mountains, which you aren't able to draw anything on top of mountains. And then we have ruins, which you can draw on top of. In fact, we have ruin cards in our exploration deck that when they're drawn, we're going to look to try to be able to draw on our grid, covering up one of the ruin symbols that are on this sheet. Then we have coins down here. And then we have a scoring section, and this is for each of the seasons. So we have A and B, we have coins, and then we have monsters because we have ambushes that take place from monsters. We have a small deck of 4 ambush cards that have the same exact backing as the exploration deck, just like so. Actually, I got a little promo that included 4 more monster ambushes. I like that. That's pretty cool. Another little interesting side note is that this actually comes with a background card for role player, and it is the cartographer. I really like that. I thought that was really cool. Nice little tie in there. So what we're going to do is we are going to take our exploration deck. We're going to take one of our monster ambush cards, put it in here. We're going to shuffle this on up and make sure everybody's got their map pad and a pencil, and you're going to be good to go. Now, there are rules for solo play too. I have played the solitaire and had a lot of fun. It's challenging as a solitaire game too. As far as scaling by way of the number of players, it really does not matter if you're playing 2 players or 100 players. It's all going to play out the same exact way. So what we're going to do to begin our season is we are going to draw an exploration card. So we have different terrain types. So here we've got orchards, and here we also have farms, and then we're going to have a shape. So the shape shows us how we need to fill this out on our map sheet. So we get to choose either forest or farm, and then we would fill in this shape, and we can rotate this around. So there is a Tetris element to cartographers, and then we're going to fill that in on our sheet. Now, as far as these mountains go, if we have these 4 filled in, then we're actually going to earn a coin, and that will give us points as we score each of the seasons. And it's kind of cool because as each season goes on, we score total coins, not just the coins that we earned during that season. So as these seasons continue, as they progress, we're going to see our victory points tend to build as that goes along. Now, keep in mind, these edicts are going to be our main way of scoring points. So as an example here, we have this canal lake is showing earn 1 reputation star, which is effectively your victory points, for each water space adjacent to at least 1 farm space. Earn 1 reputation star for each farm space adjacent to at least 1 water space. Pretty simple. So knowing that, most players are going to choose to fill in farm space because we know at the end of spring, these are the 2 options we have available to us. Then we also have this Stoneside Forest, which is our B. This is a little bit more difficult. Earn 3 reputation stars for each mountain space connected to another mountain space by a cluster of forest spaces. So as you see here, we have got the mountains are separated. So you might consider going with the forest as opposed to the farm. This is a more difficult edict to complete. Then we have the borderlands. This is going to come into play during the summer. So essentially what we're looking at is getting 6 victory points if we have a complete row or complete column filled in. And then here we have Shield Gate, which is 2 reputation stars for each village space in the second largest cluster. So a cluster is simply a group of squares of the same terrain type. They don't have to be in the same configuration as you see here. Only time things have to be in the same configuration is when we see this below. So we would start off, got your choice, and then we would place this off to the side. I'll put this here. And then we move on to the next card. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be keeping an eye on the number of points that are in the upper left corner of these cards, because once we hit 8 or more, that is going to end the season. So keep in mind, it's not 8 cards, it's 8 points. So next time up, we get the Great River. So if we do 3 in a row, we get a coin. Or we could fill it in like so. So these are our choices. And of course, you'd probably want to go with the little short river, because then you're going to get the coin. But then again, you can also fill it in fairly large. Now, if you had already chosen the farm, then you would probably be looking to make sure that you put the river next to those farm spaces, because remember, we have the Canal Lake as one of our scoring edicts. Now, this is where some of the strategy comes into play. You have to try to stay on your toes and notice what these edicts are for you to have any chance of actually winning. Now, of course, we had no idea the Great River was coming up. So if you had chosen forest, well, then now you can pretty much put the river wherever you'd like. So now we would have 3 points. Next card we get is Rift Lands, which counts for 0. 0 towards our timing. So in this case, we can put any sort of terrain outside of a mountain anywhere on our maps. Moving right along. Let's see. Here's farmland. So we would be at 4. Let's see if we're going to get a monster raid. Nope. Fishing village. As we progress, let's see. We have a ruin somewhere here. Come on. All right. I'm just going to. Oh, look. The last card in there is the goblin attack. Okay. So we get ruin cards. We have a couple of these. If you get a ruins card, then we flip the next card in the exploration. And then what we're looking to do is we're looking to now choose the homestead. We can choose either one of these and then use this design and pass that design through one of the ruin icons on your sheet. If you can't do that, you only get to place 1 square. So if there's ever a time, and this will happen as the game progresses, that there's ever a time that you can't actually draw the symbol that's required, you take 1 square and fill in that terrain. So once again, it's good to have some sort of overall strategy to your approach, because you don't want to spend a lot of time at the end of the game just putting one little square in there. So let's talk about the monster raids. So the monster raids will come up and you will actually hand off your map sheet to another player, and it will show what direction around the table you're going to hand it off. And then that other player is going to fill in this exact symbol here, this exact layout across on your sheet. So what's going to happen during the scoring, this will cost you points if you have empty squares around this. Now, once the ambush has taken place, this actually gets removed from the deck. But as you saw, this was the last card in the deck, the way it was shuffled up. So once we would hit the 8 points, we would move into our spring scoring. We would do our scoring, and then we will shuffle up the entire deck once again. So in a case like this, the way this deck was laid out, we would not have had a monster ambush. But every time we shuffle this deck at the beginning of a new season, we're going to add in another ambush. So, of course, since we hadn't seen that yet, as we were kind of going along, there would now actually be two monster ambushes in the current deck. So it is conceivable that you have more than one monster ambush take place during a season. It is also completely possible you don't have any monster ambush take place, that you just happen to avoid those cards. And I like that. I think it's pretty cool because it's something that adds to the replayability of the game. So even though we only have a few cards, I mean, this isn't like a 52 card deck by any stretch. Even with all of the monster cards, I think we've got 16 plus 4, like 20 cards all told. But we get a lot of replayability simply because of the way the deck will progress. Because it might be possible that we end up getting high level cards with high timing that we only maybe get 4 cards out of a season. Now, keep in mind, too, fall has only 7, winter only has 6. So at the end of each of the seasons, we're going to do our scoring. So we're going to look at the edict cards, and we're going to look to see if we can score that way. We're going to also count up our coins that we have earned. And then we're going to take a look at where we've got those monster ambushes. And then we're going to subtract a point for each adjacent square that's not filled in. So if you get hit by an ambush, it behooves you to actually go, and as long as there's still cards coming up in the turn, you are going to end up trying to fill in those squares to avoid losing the points. Another interesting wrinkle to the game. So once we go through spring, summer, fall, and winter, we're going to total up our points to see who's the winner. In the case of a tie, whoever lost the fewest points to monster ambushes is the winner. And if it's still a tie, then we are looking at a shared victory. All right. That is, in essence, kind of a quick overview of how you play Cartographers. Swing on over to the other camera so I can share some final thoughts as well as my review score. I've had a lot of fun with Cartographers. I've played it solitaire. I've also played it with the gang. Little bit different solitaire because of the monster ambushes are handled a little bit differently. But all in all, plays essentially the same. I will say one of the gang who's not a fan of kind of map making games thought it was just okay, which, I mean, to be honest, these sorts of games really aren't their bag of tricks anyway. So it kind of goes with the territory as far as they're concerned. But the rest of us like this a ton. Some hidden strategy involved. Now, of course, you got to be able to think on your feet. So you can't really adopt an overall strategy. Of course, you want to keep an eye on those edict cards, because if you're not scoring reputation points by way of those edict cards, there's no way you're going to come anywhere close to winning Cartographers. But you also have to be very flexible as far as the various different cards that are coming up that you need to fill in on your map sheet. Enjoyed the hell out of this. Really, really did. There's surprising depth to this and a lot of replayability, even though you don't even have a full 52 card deck that you're playing with. Really like that a ton as well. So all in all, the gang, for the most part, really enjoyed Cartographers. So on a scale of 0 to 10, I give Cartographers a 9 out of 10. Enjoyed it a lot. Plays really well, solitaire and with other players. And it's got some surprising depth to it also. So I really do think if you like map making games, by all means, Cartographers should be part of your collection. All right, that's it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell It's not only going to let you know when I share videos such as this review, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thank you very much for watching. Until I see you next time, certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.